Hey guys, so it's been a little over a week since my last update, and I've gotten some a new fish, and I've gotten some new corals. So let's get right into this. Fish-wise, I couldn't find my Goby no matter how hard I looked, but I had a second option I wanted, just in case, and that was the rainbow goby here, and he's doing quite well. He's the biggest fish of the tank, but obviously he doesn't harm anybody. He loves his brine shrimp. His top dorsal fin there, or whatever you call that, has been injured. I thought it was the peppermint shrimp, because the peppermint shrimp's been picking at the corals. And if you've seen my Instagram account or anything like that, my Maxie got a nice little treat this morning when the peppermint shrimp was picking at the grape coral up there. I'm not going to say it was an accident. I kind of forced the issue until, the Maxie grabbed onto it. It had to go, and rather it'd be a treat than thrown in the trash. So that's the story on the peppermint shrimp. The other one, I don't know where it is. It probably died somehow in there. It was a baby, not a big deal. But I have a couple emerald crabs in here too, and I noticed about an hour ago that they're hanging right under this arch here along with the cleaner shrimp, and they were trying to get at the goby here, and they apparently got the fin. So now it's not all, perfectly round. Now it's missing a couple pieces here and there. So my next task is to get rid of the emerald crabs, because I've never actually had bubble algae or aptasia. So I really got those for show than anything else. So those guys are going. But other than that, fish-wise, everything is good. The Fajama still likes his little corner here. He likes his pellets. Clowns, they're like digging down into the back corner here. They kick it up all day, every day. They kind of gave up on the front here, which I'm glad. Going to the corals here now. Yesterday I received a golden octospawn, which is right here. Looks awesome when my lights going in the sunset mode, basically when the blues start kicking in more. It's an awesome color. My other frog spawn that I got last week is starting to come out more. I don't think it liked the dip I used. I tend to use the bear dip. That one's slowly recovering. The acans are looking great though. They're puffy. I'm feeding them reef-roids twice a week. Let's see what else we got here. My main frog spawn is doing awesome as always. The hammer here, my old hammer is doing quite well. It's small, slow growing. So I mean, that's probably my least favorite coral in the tank, just because of the color. But I'm gonna keep it just because I bought it. I don't have a reason to get rid of it. And then I got this other hammer yesterday to change the color up quite a bit. It was sold as a bicolor hammer, and these guys are usually shy and in the corner, but they want to be on camera today. And this guy puffed right up overnight. He's bigger now than I saw him in at the store yesterday. So I'm glad that that coral is doing well. But I got my whole little Euphilia garden here, so when that all grows in, that whole corner is going to be able to fill in, touch each other, and not have to worry about anything. Main reason why my torch is over here. The peppermint shrimp, like I mentioned, was picking at corals. Mostly the grape coral up there, but I did notice a couple tentacles that were off of this a couple nights ago. With the blue lights, I was able to see him on the sand bed. Kind of pissed me off. So I've been trying to catch him finally, and like I said, this morning he was finally caught, and he was a treat for the Maxie. So that's good there. What are you doing? So yeah, those are my two new corals, the octospawn and the bicolor hammer there. Again, they're doing well already. Everything else I've noticed. I mean, this thing was maybe the size of a $50 like 2 months ago. It's just taken off, and it's starting to come down here on on the sides. And let's see, I can't see it with the glare. There's the bass, chalk bass in there. That's his favorite hiding spot right now. Let's see what else we got here. The heads on my candy cane here are about split up because last week this was barely splitting, and now that one's almost completely good. This one is working on it. My Kenya tree is doing his thing back there. He gets beat around quite a bit from the conch snails, so I'm trying to find another location, or at least somewhere where they. It's hard to avoid because I mean they're so big and they hit that coral quite a bit, but I mean it's still growing. There was a question I got this week from Dion, and it was what I do to keep my clam so healthy. Honestly, I mean, I've had it for a few months here. I bought it at 5 inches, so I mean, I never really raised this thing from the small ones. I mean, I used to have a clam on my old Fluval 13.5. It was a Crocea clam, and it was on an old Kessel 880. Great light, but it's not good for clams just because I never did my research beforehand, and now I've done nothing but research on these things, and they love levels of light similar to SPS corals, and my AI Prime HD can easily do that. And it's so big that it can suck up all the light at once with those, the big, what do you call it, the mantle or just those little wings there, or whatever you want to call it. It sucks up so much light, and it's just healthy. I mean, when I first got this, I dosed maybe for the first 2 weeks. With some phytoplankton, like once a day. I would spot feed it with all the filters and the pumps off, and it would suck it up and do its thing. But I mean, after 2 weeks, I let it just sit in the light, and it's been doing good ever since. I don't have a secret on this. I got the salt I'm using is the Red Sea Pro Salt, or the was it not the blue bucket, the one with the higher levels of everything. I mean, it says clams on the front. Ever since I switched to that salt, everything's taken off. This thing took off. I mean, that's finally starting to take off. Still can't get the name on whatever this is. I mean, my candy canes are finally splitting. Zoas are starting to encrust a little bit. I mean, everything is just healthy. Stability is another key. I don't chase numbers. My pH is usually around 7.8, 7.9. That's with windows open or shut, extra aeration. Those tricks never worked for me. I tried chasing numbers one time, but the buffers wear out so quickly that I stopped, and now I just let my tank go as is, so a 7.8. I can't tell you anything about water parameters because I honestly only check my parameters like once a month. I trust looking at my corals on how healthy my tank is. I do my weekly 5-gallon water changes. I've done that on every tank I've ever owned for my reef tank, and they've all been around this size except my Fluval, which I was still doing about 3 gallons a week. So my water changes are my go-to source of a healthy tank. I've never had to battle any kind of algae. I got bright lights on it, maxes out with blues. The 120, 130% is up at the top. My reds and greens are 4%. My cool white is was a 19% at max during the day. So let me see if I can show you what my actual schedule is here on the website. A little bit of YouTube here, but if I go to my AI here. And this is my schedule, as I just messed with the light a little bit. It goes from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. This line that you see is all the blues I try to get them as similar as possible. And then the next one you see right here are the whites. You see 20% is the max, and then the max green and red are 4%. So there's really no secret. That's my schedule. I get barely any algae. Like I said, my water changes are my key to a successful reef. Stability, obviously. You don't want any kind of fluctuating parameters. Another mistake I had with my Crocea clam, other than the light, was I know they needed to be attached to a rock. I mean, the Crocea was shipped to me. it needed time to acclimate more than this one did. But I noticed that while it was trying to attach its foot, I mean, it wasn't going to get enough light, and it ended up dying partially because of that. But when I had peppermint shrimp, they would pick at the foot, and they would eat the mantle, and everything was trying to get at the mantle. I guess I've read that when you know clams are dying, all your invertebrates are going to start picking at your clam. And that was the case here, because every kind of invertebrate I had was trying to get inside, you know, the opening here. They were trying to get down into the foot. It wasn't very good. But again, this one took like 2 days to puff out like this, and I started with the phytoplankton for a couple weeks, and then my lights took care of the rest. So, I mean, if you have any other questions, Dion, or anybody else on the clam, I'll see what I can do. I mean, I can rent a par meter, and I can go get it tested if you want. There's a local place that will rent it out to me. But again, I'm going off of the health of all my other corals. Everything else is doing amazing. Anything new here? My ATO, I know Dion had issues with his nano ATO from Aqua or Auto Aqua. I told him I had the micro, and it's in just a regular old fish tank. It's the same pump as yours. This was the siphon breaker I was talking about. I don't know if you can see that right there. So every time it sucks up water, it pushes out air and pumps out excess water back into the tank. My sensor I was talking about without having to open up the back is this blue sensor right here. It just goes right where I want the water line to go. That's all it is. You might want to avoid the micro bubbles, because that can play a part in the sensor, so I moved that a little bit more to the right, and that's doing fine. I ended up getting my lid done, so let's see if I can get it focused. Yep, my lid is done. I mean, you got a little bit of openings on all sides here, but I got it to fit snug, probably a little bit too snug, but nothing can jump out now. Let's see here. I don't know what else I can tell you guys. If you have questions, just let me know, and I'll try to do what I can. So until the next video, guys, have a good one.